In this video, I'll be covering how to import data from external systems, such as databases like Microsoft SQL Server or Oracle. You can also use any OLEDB driver to get data from these systems, and in this case, I'm going to use it to actually access data from an Excel report or an Excel file. So I have the file right here. Let's take a look at what it looks like first to see what we can pull from it. So we have a date, so we're going to need that to be able to pull the data. The data is laid out like a table in Excel, so we're going to be able to write queries against this table essentially. And a couple things to note is, again, that we have a date field. We have a two column headers, bioxide feed and harvested sludge, and the sheet is called sheet 1. And the sheet name becomes the table name as we refer to this data when we want to pull data from it. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I close that out. I kind of took a good look at it. I know what's in there. I'm going to go ahead and close it. And now what I'm going to do is I need to set up a connection first to that source of data. So I'm going to go to System Setup, System Tables, Entire System, External Data Source Setup. And in here I'm going to go ahead and click New. And I'm going to call it my new Excel. And later on, I'm going to refer to this name to say where I want to pull data from when I set up a variable. Next, I go to date format. So each database has its own unique date format. We have a couple pull downs here that are going to set it. In this case, I'm going to choose access because access date format puts pound signs around dates, and that's the same format that Excel uses. So in this case, I'm going to use access. You can also type in a date format here in the Microsoft, like DD, YY, if that's what works for your particular driver. So again, for Excel, I'm going to choose the access date format. Now I need a connection string. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit F1, and it pulls up our connection or our help that will show some very commonly used connections. So it goes down through here and it says, okay, if you're connecting to an Access 97 database, this is the provider you could use, or the connection string. So I scroll through here. Here's one for CSV, and then here it is for Excel. And in this case, I've got an XLSX file, and so I'm going to just copy this particular connection string that's shown here. Now the driver or provider, in this case Microsoft ACE OLEDB 12.0, is installed on my machine. It may or may not be installed on your machine, and what you would want to do is use a UDL file to see what drivers you have available to you. If you don't have them available, we have a link here to Microsoft to get the one for Excel. So again, I'm going to go ahead and copy this, close out of help, go to here, and it says here's the driver, but the data source is set to the default, which is C:my folder. So that was in, going back to Windows Explorer to make sure I get it right. Copy this in. And the name of the file. I'm just going to rename it here. Copy that name so I don't have a typo. And once I have it correct, I'm going to go ahead and click, oh, I need a semicolon there. I'm going to go ahead and click test. It says test pass. That means it could open the file up and it, at least works. It can open a connection. So I got everything correct so far. I'm going to go ahead and click OK. And I have my driver new Excel ready to be used. So now I can click exit. And I can go to System Setup, Edit View Variables. And I've already set up a variable. The last variable here called my feed here that I want to pull data from Excel. So I'm going to go to Interface. I'm going to choose External Source. I'm going to choose my new Excel driver. And right here, I'm going to go ahead and type in my query. Select. All SQL queries start with that. I do square brackets around the fields, and in this case, the name of the field I want to pull data from is biox feed from, and then the table is specified again with the sheet name with this interesting syntax at the end. Put a $sign after it and put it in square brackets. So sheet 1 becomes sheet 1 $sign, where, and then my field is date. It's greater than or equal to, and we have two shortcuts here. So I'm going to do SD, and that says start date. So when I go to get data, when I actually go to get data, it's going to replace SD with the start date for which I'm trying to get data. So for a day, if I'm getting it for January 1st, it would be 1/1/2016, let's say. And date is less than, and again, I'm going to do end date. If I go ahead and click test here, the query runs, and notice it says successful, but I didn't see any data. So it's trying to get data for the current, well, actually for yesterday. So it's 11/11, so this says 11/10, and then less than 11/10 at 23:59. So what I can do is I can come in here and say, well, I know I have data for August, so I'm going to do 08 just to see if the query works. And that goes ahead and returns data. Now, I'm good to go. The other thing I noticed is that the end date became 23:59:59. So I want to do less than or equal to in case there's data in that time slot. Okay? So I close this out. It looks like it's working. I decided I want to do less than or equal to. And I've got it set up. Go ahead and click exit. Go to utilities, import from external data source. Now, if you don't see import on your menu, it's because your preferences or your privileges don't allow you to use it. So you may need to go to your preferences or your security setup and get allowed to import data checked. But in this case, it's on for me. So I'm going to go to get data from external source. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose the date range. I want to get data for August 1st through August 31st. And now I'm going to select vars and import. So in this case, I just have that one variable set up. I'm going to go ahead and click import selected variables, and it's going to run, and it imports the data for those days from that file. I can now go pull up a data entry form. I'm going to go ahead and insert that column in. I put it in the miscellaneous location. Here's that variable. And now I go back and run for August and see my data. So there's all that data that was imported. Now, I can, after I get it all set up, also set up a scheduled task to run this import for me daily. So I can go here and click New, give it a name. When do I want to schedule it? In this case, I want to schedule it daily, let's say. What to do. And it says Run Import of External Sources. And I can say, let's get data always for yesterday and today. So if I miss a day, then it'll go back and try to re-get that data. Go ahead and click OK, and now on a daily basis, 1 minute after midnight, it's going to run and go open up that Excel file. So if that file gets updated every day, then it will go and import that data. Again, get data from external system can be used not only to get data from Excel, but from other databases such as SQL Server, really from almost any source that you have. This is a free utility that comes with, it's included in WIMS, and all you need to do is configure it and get your data.